pests people have in their gardens include possums, rabbits, birds and people. Today I'm going to show you how you can manage each of these issues. Here we are at another community garden where they've made an extensive fencing system to keep possums out from a neighbouring wildlife corridor. What they've done is have got chicken wire, star pickets and a couple of different types of high tensile wire to make what's called a floppy fence. A floppy fence is basically a possum-proof fence, and the way it works is the possums will come up to the fence, they'll climb it like they normally do any other fence. However, once they're near the top, to the floppy section, they'll get deterred, and that's because they don't want to climb on anything that isn't solid or stable. When you're making a floppy fence, make sure you don't use any wooden posts because possums will think it's a tree and come straight for it. Use star pickets instead. So here we've got our possum-proof fence. However, if you've got troubles with rabbits as well, a couple of additions can make it rabbit-proof too. Come down below, what I've done is add an extra 20 centimetres of wire to the bottom and dug it in. From here on, all I have to do is make sure it's nice and taut and fill it in. When you're filling it in, make sure you pack it in really hard. You can use your hands, your feet or the bottom of a crowbar. Another option when you're rabbit proofing your garden is to put a skirt on your fence. So instead of digging in that 20 centimetres of extra wire, attach it to your fence and fan it out along the ground. Make sure you peg it down in a couple of good spots, and how it works is the rabbit will come up to your fence, you'll see those juicy pumpkins on the other side and start trying to dig right up against the fence line. However, the wire will stop it and it's just going to turn around and hop off. So birds can also be a pest in your garden because they love eating and scratching up any kind of young seedlings or seeds that you've just planted. There's a couple of techniques that you can do really easily on a small scale. Of course, if you're doing a really large garden, you might want to consider netting or caging. However, today we've just got a small garden. One really great technique, which is so easy, is to do what I call the spiderweb netting. And all you do is get a few stakes and some string and rope it all off. It's enough of a deterrent that birds can't quite figure out how to get through it, which is great. Another really simple idea is just to make a nice little cage out of chicken wire and just pop it over individual or multiple plants. I find that after around 4 to 6 weeks, your garden's established enough that it doesn't need any protection. Now, it's sad but true that some school and community gardens do experience vandalism. To prevent this from happening, there's a few strategies you can do, like engaging your local neighbours to keep an eye on your garden and be involved. Have regular workshops and working bees in your garden, so there's a really good flow of people coming through. And also a really good technique is just to have a great sign for your garden explaining what it is, what it's hoping to achieve and how you can get involved. However, sometimes you simply need to put up a fence, and that's okay. If this is the case, make sure you have lots of really clear access hours for your members and volunteers so they can come to the garden whenever they need to. And also, make sure you have some really good celebrations in there so the garden's a beautiful, vibrant place to be. So pests should never scare people away from gardening. All you need to remember is that there's always a solution for you to find so that you can garden happily ever after.